Hello out there. My name is Buloko Chabalala. I am 16 years old and I'm going to grade 11 this year. Alrighty, so today we will be looking at The Dry Tears of a Bleeding Child, which basically talks about a young girl named Elizabeth, raised and actually not even raised, working in a farm of this Charles Forthay. And then we'll be looking at Heart Series Book 4, Our Triumph, right? And basically, this book is talking about the story of Tseko and how she ends up dealing with her problems caused by the unforgiving acts of her father. Okay, so on to the next topic of the day. We are going to pick up her character. So for me, in The Dry Tears of a Bleeding Child, my favorite character here was actually Jordan McIntyre, the doctor. If you read, you know who he is. And the reason I say he is my favorite character is simply because of his nobility and basically the way he thinks. And I also think that his hard work ethic, to decide from being a nurse to become a doctor, one has to be really strong willed and end up actually fulfilling that dream, you know? And also his braveness to move through different countries. That means that he's so responsible, which are characteristics I admire in a person and which I always seek to develop within myself, right? And then in our triumph, in the Heart Series Book 4, my favorite character here is actually Dangiso, right? He is a young man who, develops and who comes up in the story as Seko's lover and actually becomes her husband, right? And the reason I chose Dangiso is simply because his career, to have that much freedom within his career, I know it probably might be stupid to like a person because of their career, but for me, actually, that sold it for me. And then also his respect for other people, even for people he hasn't met, showed a lot about his character to me. Least favorite character. And the least favorite character in The Dry Tears of a Bleeding Child is Mr. Forthay. And the reason why I say this is because he has done pretty shady things, and then towards the end, he seems to want to close up that, try to justify its actions instead of not taking accountability. Well, one might say he is taking the accountability and he has faced the consequences of his actions, but for me, that's not enough. One really needs to think not that they've done something bad, but how do they go around making up for their mistakes, right? And then our triumph. And my least favorite character there will be Mzwa. Same reason. He has chosen to trail off in his life and be an adulterer like a man who is his father who he doesn't know, by the way, just because he has certain problems. Having certain problems for me doesn't justify you doing immoral things. And of course, he knew that they were immoral doing them and they are immoral to him. Kind of even covers up the fact that he has done so well in his career. One bag of potatoes, one bag of rotten potatoes messes up the entire rack. Was it hard for me to read this? No. This probably should have taken me a day. It's not quite that thick. It's just 129 pages. And reading this book, I actually wanted to take my time because I noticed that I actually fly by the stories, and then after reading them, I have nothing else to read. So with this one, dragged it. Took about 5 days to finish. I was reading about 2 chapters a day, and then reading chapter by chapter, page by page when I was about to get to the end. It wasn't hard for me. And then for our triumph, well, that took me 2 days because I really wanted to know what's going to happen here. I was like, wow, this is my favorite book out of this series. Yes, the first series and the second series were like real good, but then For this one, it really hit the spot. And on to the last question today. What did I learn? So from the dry tears of a bleeding child, what I learned is things, if they're meant to be, they will be, but we also need to put in the effort. Yes, we can't just let things up to chance, but then life is its way of making things that are meant to be as so, you know. And then on her heart to score our triumph, what I learned from it is that one needs to develop themselves, one needs to seek to improve themselves, which is a Chinese philosophy that says one needs to constantly improve, probably 1% daily. And I think that works. We can see Tseko here trying to evolve. She quite evolved and matured throughout the book, and through that, because of that, she ended up attracting the right kind of energy, the right kind of people, the right kind of life that she had actually been wanting.